Economy an uphill battle in 2017 national elections. Hela Governor concern over updating of election roll. And Sports Awards night end on high.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening. Thank you for joining me for Sunday's news. The war of words over the state of the economy continues through to the elections. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill has reassured the country, saying the economy is growing, while there are those saying otherwise. The People's National Congress Party has been campaigned against in all fronts. Bethany Herman takes another look at this week's events.
Politicians and candidates alike are hammering the People's National Congress Party about the state of the economy amongst other issues during elections. The National Alliance Party, Pangu Party, the People's Progress Party, the PNG National Party are just some of the big names giving a broadside on the PNC-led coalition. Deputy Opposition Leader Sam Basil challenged the government, saying the country has supersized debt levels.
People are saying it was 42 billion debt that we got, but with the recent 1 billion for the US for the Highlands Highway, it's gone up to 45 billion. It's just guess. We're not sure that those are the real figures.
National Alliance Party leader and former treasurer Patrick Pruich said the debt levels are high and he couldn't do his job as treasurer.
It has been so difficult for me to perform my role as treasurer. As a result of that, last year's deficit level has risen, and it's the worst performance, and it's reached a level of 3 billion kina.
People's Progress Party parliamentary leader Ben Micah is also describing the economy as a ship that has already sunk.
We are living like poor people in a rich land with rich resources.
And then there is the PNG National Parliamentary Leader, Karen Gakua, who has been campaigning in rallies, saying his insistence on accountability within the government got him sacked as Attorney General.
You sack him tot, blow Attorney General blow you all at a time. Man usati sawelo law, now put him steer law you. How about you walk about good?
The Prime Minister said on the FM 100 Talkback show that the economy was doing well according to reviews and debt levels are manageable.
Where politicians continuously mislead our people, thinking that we've got far too many loans, thinking that we are borrowing too much to continue to maintain investment in our country, and secondly, that our economy has been mismanaged and it's not doing too well. Well, let me say this. I think yesterday Moody's released a report basically saying that our economy is stable. Our credit ratings, which is the ratings that international banks and international investors look when they want to invest in our country, whether our country and the economy is stable or not. So Moody's have given a report that is giving credit to the way we have managed the economy, despite our critics.
Papua New Guinea's elections are times of heated rhetoric. A lot has been said about the economy. Candidates are saying one thing, often the worst, while the government has answers to these claims. The politicians and aspiring politicians will say a lot during election campaigns, but it's the people who will vote for a government come June. Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News.
The Prime Minister Peter O'Neill says the country has a debt level of 21.9 billion kina as of last year. He said the investment on infrastructures such as roads, bridges and wharves will stimulate the SME sector and grow the economy. The PM spoke on FM 100 Talkback show on Thursday.
Infrastructure will enable small to medium enterprises have access to markets. When you have a poor infrastructure, like the roads that we are building, the airports that we are building, the wharves that we are building all around the country, is going to enable economic activity. These are assets that will enable economic activity. It's not assets that are going to be a cost to the nation. It is going to be a growth to the economy of the nation. That is why I think people have, last 2 weeks or so ago, some of our critics said that we had 40+ billion kina in debts. I don't know where they're getting all these figures from. The official figures as of last year was 21.944 billion kina of debt. Now that is well below 35% of our GDP. When you compare that levels to any country in the world, we are amongst some of the lowest debt to GDP ratios anywhere in the world.
Still on the economy, Mr. O'Neill says the economy is growing at an acceptable rate despite the end of the LNG construction phase. Members of the opposition and intending candidates are saying the economy is in a recession and a change in leadership is needed.
Our economy is now growing at about 3% per annum. Now, despite the global challenges, many countries around the world are not achieving that kind of growth levels. People may compare us today's economy growth to the levels in the past where we were getting 6, 7, 8%. But that was at the back of the construction of LNG. When construction was taking place, a lot of activities were taking place. Our economy almost grew almost 30% above normal. So you expect that during the construction has come to a completion, you expect the economy to go back to normal growth. And that's what we are experiencing today. It has come back to normal growth. So despite the oil prices coming down, gold prices coming down, copper prices coming down, that long drought not allowing us, 8 months of drought, we could not even export one shipment of copper out of Oktedi, which is our major revenue earner for the country. As a result of all this, our economy, of course, will slow down. There's no hiding that fact. The fact is that despite that slowdown, our economy was able to continue to grow. So we have never had an economy that has gone into recession. It is able to be a sustained growth over the last 2 or 3 years.
Election preparations for the autonomous region of Bougainville are set. This is from the acting election manager Desmond Timiaso. Fabian Hakelitz files this report from Buka.
Mr. Timiaso, speaking to MTV News in Buka this afternoon, said the autonomous region of Bougainville is ready for the polling.
We are all geared up to go into the actual conduct of polling. In the meantime, we have received all training equipments and materials from PNGC office.
There are 187 polling teams and the final training for polling officials will begin on June 12, followed by counting training.
It's 66 teams for North Bougainville electorate, 49 for Central Bougainville, and 71 for the South Bougainville.
The autonomous region of Bougainville's acting election manager has called on the returning officers and assistant returning officers to submit forms for temporary election workers. In Buka, Fabian Hakelitz, National MTV News.
You're watching National MTV News. More election stories when we come back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Chief Secretary to Government Isaac Lupari has called on the people of the Highlands region to prove doubters wrong and deliver the most safe and calm election in the nation's history. Lupari said the media and the international community are talking up claims of trouble, but says attitude towards election is changing. The Chief Secretary said the success of the national election depends on the attitudes and actions of all people at all levels, including candidates and voters. The government funded 121 million kina for the security operations in this year's national election. Sitting Hela Governor Francis Potape says the updating of the election roll by the Electoral Commission is a failure. Governor Potape says for Hela, the data is unrealistic and is a threat to polling. Potape says the elections in the Highlands might face hiccups if this is not addressed.
Speaking to the media in Port Moresby, the sitting Hela Governor raised concerns surrounding the common roll. Potape says there is inconsistency with figures and is questioning the work carried out by those tasked by the Electoral Commission.
So the success rate of the common roll, 20%. And if that is the same all throughout the country or maybe in the Highlands, then I can say common roll updating is a total failure.
According to the Electoral Commission report, updating of electoral rolls was 90% complete for all provinces, with final data going through finalizing. But Potapes says if the Electoral Commission is not careful, elections will fail.
If elections is to go wrong in the Highlands, especially in the Highlands, it will be the work of the Electoral Commission agents, not the people, and not the candidates. But it is the Electoral Commission's agents who are supposed to maintain leadership, supposed to maintain neutrality, impartiality, honesty.
Similar concerns have been raised in Jiwaka, Enga and Southern Highlands. The Hela Governor says the next parliament must pass proper laws to regulate this vital process.
The next parliament comes in, really need to look at how effective the common rule updating can be done. Not the way we are doing it now, it's just so much failure.
Polling will begin on Saturday, 24th June. Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
Grassroots United Front Party is campaigning around Port Moresby for seats in Parliament. Party leader Paul Paraka is contesting for the NCD regional seat, hoping to unseat sitting Governor Powes Pakop. Paraka has been holding campaign rallies in Hanuabada, ATS Settlement, Koki, 6 Mile to 9 Mile, Morbe Block and Marata. The once controversial lawyer says he is running for elections to represent the simple people and bring basic utilities to settlements as well as lift the Buai ban. While some people may be critical about Mr. Paraka and the finance inquiry case in 2000, the GRUF party leader's political ambition remains for the voters to decide in June. PNG National Party continued its Southern Region campaign rally from Popondetta to Milne Bay. Parliamentary Party leader Kerengakua arrived in the Trobriand Islands to back party candidate Leonard Loma for the Kiriwina Goodenough open seat. PNGNP visited communities on the island, campaigning for a change in leadership at both local and national level. Leader Kerengakua says the change for a new government is to fix the declining state of economy and government bureaucracy.
Our parliamentary system is broken down. Our judicial system is abused and abused to the point of breaking it down as well, like never before. We depend upon the institutions of government to look after our interests in a fair, independent and impartial manner.
National Party candidate is the only one that has traveled the length and breadth of Goodenough.
An African artist in the country says Papua New Guinea has many stories untold through the work of art. 66-year-old Ali Kayaya made this statement while displaying 56 of his paintings last night in Port Moresby. Ali's art speaks of PNG's rich historical culture, people and environment.
Ali displayed 56 different paintings last night at the Royal Papuan Yacht Club in Port Moresby. Ali, who currently lives in Port Moresby, says PNG's unique landscape, diverse culture and people is what triggers him to express stories through the work of his paintings. He says many stories remain untold.
Storyteller, like an artist, to tell more stories, because there are so many stories here which a lot of people, they don't know,
The Afro-European artist has traveled around the country with the love to paint primarily in acrylic or canvas with brushes and palette knives. PNG has become home to the 66-year-old and says Congo is no different.
Here in PNG, it's the same as in Africa. Cultures and, people, how the way, people looks like and how the way.
Prices vary and all payments must be made in PNG Kina. The balance of the proceeds from the exhibition will be sent to Jajiba in Africa to fund basic housing. Among the art displayed, Sing Sing warriors hunted, Rabal Forest and Buka Meeting House did grab considerable attention. Ali's secret, the similarities between PNG and African cultures.
Things similar like the thing in Africa, like hairdressing, like a mask. This is the same as, whenever you go in Africa, you saw those kind of things. So for me, it was very easy.
Ali took painting while living in Mexico City. Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
After the break, we'll bring you stories making headlines overseas. Stay tuned for details. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas, Australian drug smuggler Schapelle Corby spent her last day in Bali yesterday. The 39-year-old was expected to finish her sentence and be deported from Bali, where she spent nearly 13 years for importing marijuana in a bodyboard bag.
Waiting media pack, police arriving early to prepare. 12 years to the day since these unforgettable courtroom scenes played out live to a transfixed Australian audience. Schapelle Corby's time in Bali is mere hours from ending.
You know, you've seen the news. I think everyone's seen the news. Everyone should understand that we're just happy. We're getting a family member back.
Officials are reportedly glad to see her leave as well. Ever since Corby was caught entering Bali's airport on holiday with 4 kilograms of marijuana in her bodyboard bag, she's been an ongoing national obsession in Australia and Indonesia. When Corby does arrive home early tomorrow morning, she'll be taken either here to her mum's house south of Brisbane or to her sister's on the Gold Coast. Either way, she can expect a significant media contingent. Whether it was her youth, beauty or continuing protestations of innocence, a media frenzies followed Corby's every move. This was her being released on parole in 2014 after 9 years at the notorious Kerobokan prison. These days, she's said to be increasingly paranoid, hiding out at her Kuta villa, sister Mercedes on the offensive.
Get away from our gate!
Mercedes, along with celebrity bodyguard 100 Indonesian police officers, will escort Corby to Denpasar Airport tonight. Back in Brisbane, Australian police have been liaising with the 39-year-old's mum to plan her arrival, as the reality she's actually coming home begins to dawn.
12 years? I don't even really know, so like 12 years now? Yeah, that's actually a long time.
But it could be longer still before Corby gets any peace.
As Donald Trump was attending his first G7 summit in Sicily, Hillary Clinton was going on the attack back in the States. The former Democratic presidential candidate has delivered a stinging rebuke of his behavior and his policies.
Stage for Hillary Clinton back at her alma mater, Wellesley College, 48 years later to again deliver a graduation address. First, sharing how she's bounced back from her bruising loss in the presidential election.
Long walks in the woods. Organizing my closets, right? I won't lie, Chardonnay helped a little too.
Clinton then taking on her former rival. Her most direct attacks yet against President Trump.
When people in power invent their own facts and attack those who question them, it can mark the beginning of the end of a free society.
It was at this same ceremony in 1969 that a young Hillary Rodham launched her political career with a speech to her fellow graduates. At the time, it was President Nixon's White House in political turmoil.
We were furious about the past presidential election of a man whose presidency would eventually end in disgrace with his impeachment for obstruction of justice.
Today, back in the public eye in a different role than she had imagined, rallying the resistance.
Don't be afraid of your ambition, of your dreams, or even your anger. Those are powerful forces, but harness them to make a difference in the world.
Leaders at the G7 summit in Italy have agreed to crack down on internet companies that failed to remove extremist content in the wake of the Manchester attack. Britain's Prime Minister told world leaders that more needs to be done to tackle foreign fighters returning from conflict in the Middle East.
Affairs, these summits, beautiful settings, big stars, some loving the spotlight, Britain's leader keen to use it. Hard to move, let alone grab attention here. You can just see Mrs May behind Donald Trump. But after the Manchester attack, she was keen to lead the line against terrorism. Mrs May urged leaders to do more against online extremism, to get web companies to identify and block harmful content, to alert authorities. She wanted action against terrorists stepped up.
Today, G7 leaders have joined Britain in condemning this barbaric act of violence.
Prime Minister, can you say that you have done enough to provide funds, powers and police numbers when you consider the Manchester bomber was known to the authorities?
Let's be very clear on police funding that we have protected counter-terrorism police funding. We've increased the funding for our security and intelligence agencies, and we continue to provide them with the support they need.
At the summit working session, agreement to cooperate against extremists was easy to find. Even leaders who don't always get on managed it here. Mrs May suggested more help for countries in conflict zones detaining foreign fighters. The summit statement, pledging countries to do more and to do more together, was duly signed and sealed. Thank you. Sticking together on an issue like terrorism is a must for leaders at a big summit. And it's not just for show. But dealing with a problem like this takes complex solutions, time and patience to tackle a threat that'll continue long, long after big set occasions like this one have come and gone.
A shortage of skilled workers in New Zealand's technology sector has setting Wellington come up with an innovative way of attracting top tech talent as part of the Look See campaign. Applicants from around the world had a free holiday in the capital and a chance to get in front of the employers.
Experts from around the world, getting a taste of the city they may soon call home.
Moving to New Zealand has always been a sort of a dream for me.
And Wellington is part of a global talent search.
It's not every day the world's best tech talent get invited onto the career trip of a lifetime.
More than 48,000 people applied for the Look See campaign, offered free flights and accommodation and the chance to score a job with leading local technology companies. Only 97 were chosen to come.
I'm not a big fan of the wind in Wellington, but I mean, every place has its pros and cons. This place has so many pros.
Candidates have been put through their paces at job interviews, with businesses looking to hire employees to fill a shortage.
The employers have said they need additional skills that are readily available in the local market. So this is meeting an opportunity and a need to bring in real high-quality tech talent.
If I actually have an offer that makes sense in terms of money and path and growth, and it definitely will be an option to move here.
Employers like video review startup Whipster, impressed with the quality of applications.
If we get people from North America to have people working on our team that are from there and we have clients there, it just helps us. So it's just making our company more global.
Organisers believe the program is the first of its kind in the world. They say so far it's exceeded expectations, so another could be held in the future. Igor Machado is a software developer from Brazil. He's seriously considering the move.
I just love the culture here, just have the beach.
Possibly his dream job too.
Millions of visitors are flocking to Sydney for one of Australia's biggest festivals. Vivid is lighting up the city, and this year it has a Kiwi influence.
Spectacle that quite literally lights up Sydney. The Vivid Festival turning architecture into art, lawns into lighting masterpieces. Its centrepiece and pride, the iconic Opera House sails, and this year they left the design in a Kiwi's hands.
I was excited, thrilled, honoured, nervous.
Sydney-based Ash Boland spent months working on his display, Audio Creatures. It projects a mix of imaginary animals crawling, slithering and swimming over the sails. Boland only got his first glimpse of what it would actually look like in a test this week.
We saw it about on 2 o'clock in the morning, and it was quite a special little moment. Me and the animators, and we all went, oh, this is going to work. This actually is something else.
The Kiwi influence more obvious in the Botanic Gardens. This installation, representing the Rio Roi, was co-created by a Peruvian artist, inspired after a friend saw a Kiwi while trekking the Milford Sound.
We just thought it was such a special-looking bird.
Complete with the bird's call, it took 6 weeks to make.
The fur is actually indeed 10,000 cable ties, dipped in paint and hand-tied to the body.
Organisers are expecting Vivid to attract around 2.5 million people over the course of its 23 nights, but that presents significant difficulty for police, who have heightened security in the wake of the Manchester attack. Police say they're surveilling from air, land and water in a high-visibility operation. While there's no specific threat, they're also conducting random bag searches to prevent anything dimming the city's bright lights.
Sports segment is next. All the details after the break, including highlights of last night's SP Sports Awards. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Last night's SP Sports Awards ended on a high note with Best Male and Female Awards won by the Code of Weightlifting. While it was a big night for athletes, coaches and teams, it was the guest speaker Wally Lewis who stole the night with a great sense of humour that kept the guests and nominees entertained.
Arriving with friends and families at the 25th anniversary last night were nominees of the 2017 SP Sports Awards. With 37 nominees and 12 awards up for grabs, it was patience and anticipation as the nominees held their breath for the official announcements. The first category winner for the Media Sports Awards was MTV Sports.
I am absolutely thrilled at the moment because I think that it's well deserved, because the SP Sports Award recognizes, the achievements of, hardworking sports journalists and media coverage throughout this country. And I think for a long time, MTV has not been fully recognized for the hard work it's been doing. And so this is really amazing news for us, because it shows that they're actually getting recognized for their coverage, for their hard work, and I think we'll continue to motivate them to do even better and be even better as 2017 rolls through.
While a few winners were not available to receive the awards, present to receive their awards were Sports Photo of the Year by Mark Talia, and Jaylene Jeffrey took the Best Disability Athlete of the Year award. Community Sports Initiative went to Girls Empowerment, Cricket PNG and National Performance Award went to Lace Next Tigers.
Thanks from the whole squad to the sponsor, SP Brewery. Without the great sponsorship of SP Brewery, wouldn't be possible. And thanks again. We feel that it's a great recognition of the youth of Papua New Guinea, because we've got young players in our squad, some schoolboys, and as we bring them up through the system, this can only be, more encouragement for them to perform.
Team of the Year award went to PNG men's national football team, Kapools.
First of all, I would like to say thank you to the current players and the current head coach, and the team behind the team behind the team. Also to all the past players and coaches and the management. We'd like to thank all of them for the efforts that they put together up until now, that we've got the first award ever. And we'd like to also thank SP Sports Award and the organizing committee, and then the selection committee for also selecting soccer as to receive this award tonight.
Meow Maestro. I don't know what to say, but to be honest, I'm happy right now. I'm happy with the achievement of the boys that we've working since day one with the coach, the OFC, training camp last year coming up now, and the result of that, I'm so happy. I'm dedicating the award goal the past players and current players, plus all the families, supporters, and all the fans out there. Yeah.
Stealing the show last night was guest speaker Wally Lewis as he entertained the crowd while waiting for the announcement of the male and female athlete and the People's Choice Award. The Code of Weightlifting took the Male and Female Athlete of the Year award, going to Telma Toa and Moria Baru, who were not available on the night but were congratulated for their achievements. Godwin Eki, National, MTV Sports.
In an exclusive interview last night with MTV, NRL great Wally Lewis confirmed that Jonathan Thurston won't make the team in Wednesday night's State of Origin opener. But the Queensland Maroon legend says a perfect replacement will be filled by selectors.
While both teams are ready to battle the first State of Origin match, this Wednesday Queensland side will miss out on some big names. This includes Billy Slater and Jonathan Thurston, who will unfortunately miss out on the match due to injuries and will have to work on their level of fitness. Speaking to the Queensland legend last night, he says despite letting go of Thurston as the 18th man, the lineup won't be affected as Anthony Milford will close the gap on Wednesday.
No, I don't. I wish he was. The fingers have been crossed for a long time, hoping that he was going to be okay, but he did fail the fitness test, unfortunately, and he's been replaced by Anthony Milford, who everybody is hoping will have a very memorable debut. Thurston, there's no guarantee that he will be there for Origin 2, but I think most Queenslanders are very hopeful that he'll be given the green light.
Thurston's unavailability for Game 1 will mean his streak of 36 straight Origin matches will come to an end. Anthony Milford has been named to make his Queensland entrance at number 6 in place of Thurston, although many predict bench utility Michael Morgan will start at 5'8". Dylan Napa has also been named for the Maroons for the first time to start in the front row. The NRL legend says he is and always will be a Queenslander.
Blues or Maroons, geez, I cannot say Blues. I cannot do that. I'm a Maroon for life, always will be, and I'll proudly back the Maroons, even though that they've got a few players out. Come on, Queensland, go get them.
The first match will be played in Sydney at the ANZ Stadium. Godwin Eki, National, MTV Sports.
The PNG Hunters thrashed the Townsville Blackhawks 42 points to 4 this afternoon at the National Football Stadium. The match also saw the inaugural Air Niugini Cup being played for. The Hunters' outstanding defence and the hard-working forwards was what wore out the Blackhawks. Hunters coach Michael Marum was pleased with the overall performance of the team and is looking forward to their next match.
For the team was there today, yeah. Everyone worked hard for each other during the game, both in defence and attack. So second half, we didn't have too many balls there, but we hung in there and just until we completed the game there.
They're obviously one of the form teams in the competition at the moment, and the results have certainly shown that. So I thought they played really well, and from our point of view, we're just not where we need to be at the moment. I was really disappointed with that. And, I thought for patches there we competed quite well, but then in other patches I thought we were well off the mark, and we've been a little bit guilty of that over the last few weeks, and it's obviously something we've got to try and fix really quickly, and we've got to figure out a way how as well.
Trukai Sports continues after the break. We have Super Rugby, soccer and sailing. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. In Super Rugby, the issue of concussion has come to the fore again on the back of head knocks. Today in Coles, Ryan Crotty and Max Todd, All Blacks' first 5 Borden Barrett, set out today's Hurricanes Bulls games in South Africa. The Canes say they haven't pinpointed the issue with Barrett, but he has had headaches.
T-shirt in the dressing room, with the Hurricanes erring on the side of caution. As another teammate, another All Black, was laid low. Adi Savia hit the deck just before half-time.
There's just a head clash straight into the side of his temporal area.
Savia was taken off immediately, with the latest head issues sure to cause concern. Earlier, the Canes started with another Barrett flash against a spirited Bulls.
In an opening, some support, he doesn't need it! Whoa!
Geordie Barrett off one of the tight forward passes of the year from prop Lonnie Uhila. Barrett's feet did the rest. The Bulls showed enterprise, looking far from the team which has been cleaned out by other Kiwi sides this season. But as per, the Canes struck with pace and power through the middle.
Laumapi finds a bit of space. Nanima Laumapi, no one will stop him.
They scored 2 more tries in the golden period just before the break, and it was pretty much game over. The punishing victory sealed by an unlikely finisher.
Inside ball, it's a replacement, up his eye, he's going to reach, yes he does!
Replacement hooker Lenny Apasai, a 30-metre run outdoing the Bulls' backs. The Canes a bonus point win 34-20, cementing second in the Kiwi Conference. In Melbourne, the runaway leaders, the Crusaders, galloped over the top of the Rebels. The match sealed in the first half. Now equalling a franchise record 13 wins in a row, 41-19. The Crusaders almost uncatchable at the top of Super Rugby.
In soccer, Arsenal has ended the football season on a high. They've taken out the club's 13th FA Cup title, beating Premier League champs Chelsea 2-1 at Wembley, while north of the border, Celtic created history thanks to an Australian.
The FA Cup for a 7th time in 21 years.
There's a moment that he will cherish.
It's sometimes hard to fathom just why Arsenal fans want him gone. Sure, they've had a dreadful Premier League season, but Arsene Wenger's record in the Cup is unchallenged. This latest win, perhaps his sweetest.
For once I have kept my medal, so that means it's a special night for me.
The celebrations were underway quickly.
And Sanchez.
Alexis Sanchez's goal finally awarded after plenty of debate from the men in blue.
The goal given.
In fact, the Gunners probably should have been up by even more.
It's off the line. Oh, what a chance.
Chelsea did draw level.
And it's crept in.
If only for about 30 seconds.
Oh, they're behind again.
Enough to give Wenger his 3rd FA Cup title in the past 4 seasons. But instead of getting to cherish the moment, the questions came thick and fast about whether he'll stick around.
We are adults, we have to accept what will happen. If I'm still here next season, I will have the same attitude in the press conferences.
A decision on Wenger's future is expected this week, while the manager who certainly won't be leaving his current club is Celtic frontman Brendan Rodgers, although his side was made to work for their 37th Scottish Cup crown against the men from Aberdeen.
Oh, and it's in! And Aberdeen have scored!
Celtic responded quickly, though, with an equaliser, and then came what would be the turning point. Australian Tom Rogic subbed on thanks to a bloodied teammate and finding the winner in stoppage time.
Can the Australian seal it? He has! Celtic have won it!
Celtic sealing the treble, unbeaten in domestic football all season. The first team in history to do it.
In sailing, Australian Jimmy Spittle has won day 1 of sailing in Bermuda. After leading by 20 seconds at one stage, Team New Zealand were beaten today by Spittle's Oracle.
New Zealand, do they tack and try to put their wing wash on top of Oracle Team USA, or do they give them a little space?
A skipper like Jimmy Spittle doesn't need to be asked twice. Once given that space, he capitalised.
They have an overlap.
Hey, right turn. Okay, look back again. Oh, fine!
Very, very tight. What a turnaround in fortunes for Jimmy Spithill.
America's Cup debutant Peter Burling coming up short in his first real test, and he knows it.
Unforced error.
It was one of those things that you could have flipped the coin either way, going into that top mark as to what the breeze was going to do, as to whether we were going to get through on the lay line or not, but it didn't quite go away this time. But we learned from it, we moved forward, and we've still got plenty in the tank.
From the gun, the Kiwis looked in control.
Not the smoothest of operations from the Americans. The Kiwis looking to make the gain on the inside.
Race novices Joe Sullivan and Simon van Veldhoven both blooded today and proving their worth on the cycling pedestals. The team 20 seconds up by leg 3. But the AC50 is unforgiving of errors.
The Kiwis were in charge for 2/3 of this race, but the 4th marker was key. Oracle took the right side of the course and carved into their lead by the 5th marker. The Americans had the upper hand.
What is good is that we came back from behind. I sort of felt we outmuscled them a little bit on that last leg upwind. And, then they made a pretty fundamental error up the top.
A takeaway for all the teams today, mistakes will cost races.
We're really happy with where we checked in and just going to keep pushing from here.
Team New Zealand has the pace. Does it have the means to make it count?
To Rugby Union, for the first time, the PNG Pukpuks will not participate in the Oceania Cup later this year. In a press conference on Friday, PNG RFU's Ben Frame said this is because there was no sponsor funding before the tournament's cut-off deadline, and the team was withdrawn from participating in the Oceania Cup by Oceania Rugby.
The Oceania Cup is the gateway for teams in the region to the World Cup, and for the PNG Pukpuks, missing this year's tournament would mean they do not get a chance to put themselves to test and vie for entry to the World Cup. PNG RFU's Ben Frame said the current impasse in the union is the main reason sponsorship support has not come forth.
Pay for the players' airfares before the May deadline, and we were unable to find a sponsor that was willing to put the money forward to pay for the airfares up front. That was basically the sponsorship funding that we were short of.
Meanwhile, the Stephen Kami board rival was outraged, saying that Kami and Frame should be both consulted before Oceania Rugby can make a decision to release the Pukpuks from participation. The Stephen Kami board is made up of 11 associations, including CRU, Morobe, West New Britain and East New Britain. And they're all appealing to sponsors to support the game and players despite the impasse, because international participation is more important than domestic issues. Though Kami is not settled, with the reason being the need for sponsors for AFS, as stated by Frame.
It surprises us. It surprises us because our understanding has always been in the past that World Rugby meets the cost of transportation, the air tickets from here to wherever you're going to play in a sanctioned World Rugby tournament, which is what this is. And the hosting country will meet your hotel costs while you are there. I would have thought that that this rule would not have changed. It's exactly the same rule that applies for the sevens tournaments. Yeah, we had to provide pocket money for the teams, but in terms of cost of accommodation, in terms of cost of the meals, in terms of cost of the airfare, that was paid for by World Rugby. So why would there be any change to a World Cup qualifier for 15s? So I just wonder, maybe you should ask them again to check on the point. Otherwise, I would never accuse them of them not knowing their facts.
Dina Rose Raiko, National EMTV Sports.
And that wraps up the sports news. Up next, the weather details.
Sports. True Kai Sports.
Your weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow: in the southern region, mostly fine, then becoming cloudy in Port Moresby, fine although cloudy at times in Daru, partly cloudy with a chance of afternoon to evening showers in Kerma, fine, then cloud developments in Alotau, and becoming cloudy with chances of a shower or two in Popondetta. In the Momase region, cloudy periods with occasional showers and thunderstorms in Lae, becoming cloudy with chances of a shower or two in Medang, mostly fine, then cloud developments in Wewak, and fine although cloudy at times in Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, overcast with occasional rain showers in Lorengau and Kimbe, fine although cloudy at times in Kavieng, Kokopo and Rabaul, and mostly fine, light southeast winds becoming moderate at times in Buka. In the Highlands region, cloudy periods with chance of a shower or two, then expected morning fog in all centres. And that's been Sunday's news. Thank you for your company. Good night.